Story 1. Refund me because I didn't win. I work the customer service desk at a grocery store. Recently, the Powerball was at almost $2 billion. I had a gentleman come to my window and purchase almost $1,200 in tickets. He made a joke I've heard a million times over: if I don't win, I get my money back, right? He even said this while laughing and smiling. I gave him the generic polite smile and he went on his way. They draw the numbers the following day and I hear that someone in California won. I show up to my shift and it seems to be a normal shift. That is until the gentleman comes back. Despite that one of my co-workers has offered him assistance, he said he wanted to talk with me. I finished with the customer I was with and waved him over. Before I could greet him, he slammed down his pile of tickets, recipient included, and proceeded to tell me, "Okay, Missy, I didn't win anything. You said if I didn't win I would get my money back, so I am here for my full refund." I was slightly taken aback. I was trying to see if he was being serious or not. After a moment I realized he was. I attempted to explain to him that regardless of winning or not, all sales on any lottery tickets are final. He started screaming, "No, no, no. You said it yesterday. If I didn't win, I get my money back. Now refund me before I call the cops and tell them you stole all my money." I tried to calmly explain to him that I understand that he is upset that he lost, but no one had stolen his money, and this is just how the lottery system works. I could see he was getting more upset and not wanting to hear what I had to say. This is where it became one of those I don't get paid enough moments. He had started getting more and more upset, so he decides to start knocking over a nearby display of candy and glass soda/beer bottles while shouting about how we had stolen his money. I had enough of this and called for both management and security. Management ended up calling the police while security detained him, and her ended up causing more than $350 in damages. It was definitely an interesting one. Story 2. Will you taste it so I know if it's still good? I had an interesting encounter yesterday. I'm still taken aback. I was at the customer service desk when this lady comes up to me and handles me a can of tuna fish. "Hi, would you check the date on this? Is it expired?" "Yes, ma'am, it's expired. Has been for a couple years actually." "May I ask when you bought it? Was it recently?" "Of course, we'll refund you if that's the case." "Oh no, I bought it years ago, but I just found it as I was deep cleaning the pantry. In this case, I'm sorry, I won't be able to refund you, I'm afraid." "Oh no, I don't want a refund, but I hate wasting food, so I was wondering, would you open it and taste a little bit, so you can tell me if it's gone bad?" "No, sorry, I'm not going to do this, ma'am." Would another employee? "I really hate to throw food away." "No, I don't think any of us wants to risk food poisoning for you. Why don't you taste it yourself?" "Oh, I figured you would be able to tell if it was still good." "Never mind, I'll ask my husband, thanks anyway." And she went. I have to say, she was polite the whole time. Some people are just something else. Story 3. First time for everything. Going to court. This happened several months ago now. I have worked in retail for quite a while now. This is the first time I've ever experienced this. I was called to court to testify against a customer. Let's call the customer and now I was under the impression that they could return merchandise that they had for longer than our return policy. They also broke it. We decided to make an exception and return it. However, I would have to pay the restocking fee. This is where things got wild. I started pacing around the store and yelling profanities. My manager was already involved in the situation and told that if they didn't stop, they were going to be kicked out. I went absolutely insane and said some completely vulgar, profane things to my manager. Meanwhile, other customers were just watching and listening. This includes a child around 8, so my manager told Dad to leave or we would call the police. Upon hearing this, I started to break our displays and merchandise on the shelves, and when the police were called, I left. Fast forward several months and I have to go to court to testify against Day for the damage done in the store. Turns out the damages came out to several $1,000s. Luckily, Court was adjourned before I ever had to say anything and eventually led to a guilty plea later on. Story 4. My purse was stolen. Find it or I'll report you to the police. This happened a few years ago and I still think about this customer at least once a month. It was 2017 and I was working for a, now closed down, popular UK chain department store in the fashion accessories department, women's bags, seasonal items, shoes and occasion accessories. I remember it was a Sunday afternoon, our busiest daytime, and for once my department wasn't understaffed, so I was going around tidying the department. A woman comes up from behind me and starts talking 300 miles per hour, taking me by surprise. She gets about 15 seconds and then goes, "Oh, forget it, I'll ask someone else," and storms off to the tills. She hadn't even given me enough time to comprehend anything, but I figured I was probably better off with her going elsewhere. I continued to tidy, but stayed near the tills. I couldn't make out everything being said, but I got bits, and a member of security came out to talk to her and he seemed annoyed by the conversation. Eventually the woman stormed off. I went over to my colleagues at the till and got the details. The lady claimed that the moment she walked into the store, someone grabbed her purse off of her and ran off with it. She said she wasn't so worried about her money, but she had train tickets that cost a lot for a trip the next day that she couldn't miss. She wanted us to look at the security cameras and find the thief. My colleagues contacted security, who said they couldn't do that. They said that in order to check back the footage they'd have to stop recording, and they can't do that in case there was an emergency and they missed it. No idea if this was true or not, but that's what security said. The woman wasn't happy, so security came out to explain, but she got more irate. Security said they would review the footage after the store shut, and if they saw anything would pass it on to the police. The woman was not happy and said she'd report us to the police for not helping. She was asked for her details in case anything showed up, but she refused, saying if we weren't going to help her, what's the point? I went back to tidying. About 10 minutes later I was tidying around the sale purse stand, and one was on the floor. It looked a bit rough, but some of the sale purses had been there years, so maybe it was an old one. I picked it up and felt something inside it move. I opened it up to see it was clearly someone's purse. I take it to the till and show my colleagues. It had a few notes in it, coins and cards. They check the ID and confirm it's the lady's, complete with train tickets. As there was still notes in it, it looked more like it was dropped rather than stolen. Though weirdly, where I found it on the floor was further from the entrance, where she had claimed it was stolen, than our till, so her story didn't fully add up. But anyway, one of my colleagues took it and walked around all 3 floors of the store looking for the woman but couldn't find her. It was taken to security to add to the lost and found. I assume this woman never got her purse back and missed her trip, or had to pay a lot to replace the tickets. But if she'd have calmed down and given us a phone number, she'd have had her purse back within half an hour. Edit. A lot of you were confused by me saying something moved. I was referring to picking up the purse and loose coins moving inside. Also, when I say purse, I'm referring to the British use in that it just holds money, not a whole bag. So she still had her phone. Also, I'm now convinced she was trying to steal. Our store was known for a lot of shoplifting, and I suspect they were distracting the security, and that's why she left no contact details. Story 5. That sign doesn't apply to me because I can't read. Many moons ago, back when I was young, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed, I was working as a sales lead for a clothing store. By this time, I was probably with the company for around 2 or 3 years, and I had worked my way up from a sales associate position. My specialty was in our women's underwear loungewear section, and was in charge of making sure it was stocked and signed properly, amongst other things. A woman and her daughter were shopping back there one evening and were at it for a while. I checked on them frequently, and all seemed to be going well, and then they got to the registers. I could hear this woman becoming angry with my cashier, so I stepped in. I asked her what seemed to be the problem. She claimed that the clearance bralettes her daughter picked out should have been 8 for $20. I pointed out that sale was only for the clearance undies. The undies and the bralettes shared a clearance display, but the signage was very specific about what sale applied to which items. She whipped out the classic "that's not what the sign says" argument, so I went and checked. Surely enough, I was still correct, and I pointed this out to her. Naturally, this infuriated her, and she went on a tirade about how much time her daughter has spent picking out Tate to get the sale, and how I should have made sure she knew while she was trying on. She threatened to leave without buying anything if I did not honor the sale price, which is exactly what happened. Tragic. I had spent 7 years with that company, and while she wasn't my most lucrative encounter, I do think of her often. Has she learned to read? How far has her stupidity gotten her in this life? These are the questions that haunt me. Story 6. The Legend of Bank Transfer Guy. After telling this on Discord, I got the great idea to post this here. So over a summer 1 year ago, I worked at a grocery store. Decent job, whatever. I was in front end, so I was near customer service, and got a lot of customer service questions if I was working near the doors, which I usually was. So one day, probably mid-June, this one dude walks in. I'm 6'5", and this guy is taller than me. Way taller, probably 7 foot. He's in a 3-piece suit straight out of Mad Men, and has got his hair slicked the hell back with some kind of old-school hair grease. He looks like some kind of office exec. He also reeked of weed. Like he would walk in, and the entire store would smell of weed for 5 minutes until it dissipated. Every night, 9:30 p.m. on the dot, he'd come in. He'd audibly go, "Hey, you guys do bank transfers here, right?" We'd go, "Yeah, but customer service closed at 6, so you can't do any right now, sorry." He'd go, "That's cool, man, see ya," and then leave. Every single night, he did this. Without fail. I'd miss a day for whatever reason, and I'd come back, and my cashier friends would go, "Bank transfer guy was here last night." One night, probably late August time working, and to my surprise he comes in and says the same phrase again. I look at the clock, and to my surprise it was 5:55 p.m. 5 minutes left for him to do a bank transfer. I'm super weirded out, and I obviously haven't rehearsed this part, so I just go, "Yeah, customer service is open. You can do it there." He goes, "Hell yeah," and then strolls over there and does his bank transfer. 5 minutes goes by. His transfer is done. He silently walks out the door. We never saw him again. He spent 2 months of his life walking into a grocery store every night, and then just like that he was gone. That's how he became a legend at that store. We couldn't stop talking about him for weeks after he left. Since it was grocery, we had a high turnover rate, which meant we ended up telling like 5 new hires about him, and the word spread. We had managers from other departments chatting about him. I left in September of 2021, so I don't know if the legend still keeps up, but I'm assuming some of the older folks working late shift are still chatting about him to this day. What really got me is still his outfit. I'm not lying when I'm saying he looked good. Like pimp good. He was the most formally dressed person I'd seen in 3 months of working there. This was a grocery store in a bad part of town, too. We had meth heads oding in the parking lot on a weekly basis. Our floor was the only tile floor of this grocery chain in the entire city because of how often we had blood spills. And here's this guy who's dressed like he should have a butler doing his bank transfers for him. We speculated about why he so desperately needed a bank transfer, and why he didn't come earlier. Was it some drug operation? Was he a criminal and was trying to do it on the DL? If so, why did he try every night at the same time? We had so many questions that we unfortunately never got the answers to. Story 7. Customer threatened to sue if we didn't give him a Twix bar for free. First time posting here. Sorry if my grammar or anything is off. This happened around 6 months ago. So I working in a really small grocery store, I still am. But due to some things going on where I haven't been transferred to another department, I'm considering quitting. By this point I had been there maybe half a year, and it was towards the end of the holiday rush. Our players, Kevin, Karen, Me, Bunny older, sweet co-worker, manager. Kevin had a travel backpack and wanted to grab some candy for the road, I'm assuming. So he puts a Twix bar down and it rings up like $3 or so. He begins to complain and throw a fit over it not being $1. Apparently he picked it up from where someone had left it, right near other candy that was in fact $1. He said it was false advertising and that he needed his bar for that price. I was a young sapling at the point, still am, and very shy, and he was yelling so loud every other cashier on the front end could hear. The woman working the register in front of me was Bunny, an older, grandma-style lady. She and I had a good relationship, and it was her very last day. Kevin had begun to swear at me, and Bunny turned right around and told him to F off. Then she made a move towards him, literally just pointing at him. He started saying she had assaulted him, not so. Later, when my manager came out to threaten to check the footage, he got real quiet. Once I called a code to AK, help needed at my register, he started telling me to process the transaction and that he would take the bar for $3. I didn't let his card go through and instead let the manager come out to have a word with him. She told him that just because someone misplaced something back in the candy aisle, we couldn't comp the price for him. Yes, it should have been in the correct area, but we were busy that day and it was not our fault as cashiers. Kevin claimed that Bunny hurt him and my manager said she would check the footage. He got quiet and then babbled about getting a lawyer and firing Bunny. It was her last day. How was she going to get fired? Anyway, in the end he left. I felt shaken up because that was my worst customer at that point. He said he wasn't going to come back, but he did, and tried to con me out of more money that he was getting back. Haven't seen him since then, thankfully. Story 8. Sayings words is hard apparently. I never expect anyone to have a full-blown conversation with me at the liquor store, but I do expect people to at least explain what they need. If someone has a disability or speaks another language, I'm still happy to help in any way I can. The two men in these stories, however, were just jerks. Story 1. The man in this story was a regular whom I had definitely heard speaking on the phone and in English. When it came to staff, however, he became a caveman. We used to have small bottles behind the cash, and a normal person would say, "Can I have X?" He, however, would literally just point and grunt. He did this a few more times until we all collectively had enough. It came to a head when he did his point and grunt at my co-worker, who decided to point at every bottle he didn't want until he admitted defeat and started speaking. After that, he suddenly had a voice every time he needed something. Story 2. Once again, I knew this man could speak because I had literally helped him find something a few minutes prior. I went to cash, he came to me and he just didn't say a peep. Do you need a bag? Do you have a points card? How are you paying? Takes cash from wallet. I finish the transaction and he just stares at me. Have a nice day, I say, and he continues to stare at me, then looks to the bags, then back to me. Did you need a bag? Stares at me, then to the bags. Oh, ok. I bag up his stuff and he leaves. A few minutes he comes back and stares at me. Can I help you? He proceeds to slam change onto my counter, stares at me, then the change. Okay, what do you need? Stares at me, the change, back to me. My patience wore off at this point. Okay, I need you to use your words now because I have no clue what you even want, and this is very rude. He grunts that I gave him the wrong change. I correct this and he mutters a sarcastic thank you before he wanders into the sunset. Story 9. Gaslighting. Back in the early mid-1990s, I was working in a gas station / mini mart / deli in Oregon, usually alone, doing all the jobs, including pumping gas. No self-service. In Oregon, the town's primary industry was recreational tourism. Since the failure of the lumber industry, early one morning, a Suburban towing a travel trailer pulled in. This was very common, as was every other type of RV. An elderly couple got out. The nice older gentleman asked me to please fill up the Suburban and said he also had a couple of gas cans that he needed filled. Cool, nice enough, but seemed a bit frustrated. Oh boy, was I about to find out why. Enter mean old woman Mal. Mal, hands on hips, why is the gas so expensive? Super nasally and loud me. Everything here is expensive. We're miles from anywhere. Mal, well, I heard you people take advantage of tourists. Do you take advantage of tourists? Me, oh ma'am, I make minimum wage. I'm not taking advantage of anyone. Mal, the price per gallon is much more than we pay at home. Me, the supplier sets the price, not me, not even the owner of the station. Mal, can't you do something? Me, something. Honestly, I was baffled. Mal, like, give us a discount, you stupid hick. Do I have to spell ID out for you? You idiot. Right at that moment, before I could recover and muster any sort of response, her husband came around the back of the trailer, gas cans in hand, wondering why his wife was shouting. Nog, to Mal, what on earth are you yelling about? Mal, the gas is so expensive here, and this idiot won't give us a discount. Nog, calmly calm down. We knew it would be, and I'm absolutely certain this nice young man has nothing to do with it. Mal, shrieking, he needs to give us a discount. Nog, firmly no, he doesn't. There probably isn't a way to do it. Anyway, now get back in the truck and leave this nice young man alone. She exaggerated her frustration as she stomped off, still angrily talking about expensive this and discount that. But she did go away. Phew. Nog, Riley, don't mind her. She gets mad about any price higher than it was in the 60s. I'm so sorry about the way she spoke to you. Me, I appreciate that, but you don't need to apologize. You've been really nice. Plus, she's not as bad as my mom. Nog, chickling, I appreciate you being understanding. I finished filling up his gas cans and we each carried one back to the trailer, where I helped him strap them down securely. He handed me cash for payment and I headed inside to get his change. As I was coming back out, he had pulled away from the pumps and was carefully making the turn to the exit. I waved with his change in my hand and he stopped. I was now on the passenger mouse side of the Suburban. They rolled the window down and out came the claw-like hand of Mal. Mal, hurry up, Fao. Me, do not speak to me like that. I'm a big dude and have a loud, deep, booming voice when I choose to. Mal, mouth agape in stunned silence. Nog, to Mal, I just can't believe you. Sometimes. Just shut up. Nog, to me once again. I am so sorry she spoke to you like that. Please, keep the change. Mal, unintelligible shrieking as they pull away. The change was right around $20 USD. We weren't technically allowed to take tips, but after I told my boss the whole story when he came in later, he was very empathetic and said it was okay to keep it. Story 10. Water, you joking? I used to work at a store that sold man cave furniture, pool tables, and arcade machines. There had been a basketball arcade game outside, behind the store, since I had started working there. The first time I saw it, I figured they had given up on it and were waiting for the trash guys or scrap metal people to pick it up. After I had been there for a month and a half, I was wondering why it was still there. I got the idea that maybe a large item pickup was expensive enough that they hadn't followed through with it yet. However, I had an idea I could run by my boss. Me, hey, boss, about that basketball game out back. Are you wanting someone to dismantle it into separate pieces for scrap metal or something? Or cut the not metal stuff down to just fit in the dumpster? Boss, no, we just don't have room for it inside right now, but we'll bring it in, clean it up, and fix it when we have room. Me, you want to fix a machine that's been in the summer heat for over a month and it's been rained on 4 times. Boss, yeah, me, with a slight smile. Is this supposed to be some kind of joke? Boss, no. Yeah, the boss genuinely left a machine that he fully intended to keep and sell as working outside, exposed to the weather for more than a month, and fully expected it to still have enough good pots to be worth repairing when they cleared out room in the store for it.